Comedian Katt Williams is speaking out again, and this time, what he's saying about Dr. Pimple Popper is raising serious questions. From viral skin extraction videos to a hit TV show, Dr. Pimple Popper built a massive following by doing what most people can't even watch. But now, rumors are spreading about a near-death stroke that almost changed everything. So what really happened? And why is Katt Williams stepping into the middle of it? Stay with us as we try to uncover what's really going on behind all the headlines.
That's what you want to prevent, and that's really important. So that's the biggest reason.
Let's be real for a moment. Celebrities don't just wake up looking perfect. They're part of an industry where appearance is everything. They are literally paid to look a certain way, to stay slim, youthful, and marketable. And that pressure doesn't just come from fans, it comes from studios, brands, and contracts. According to Katt Williams, this creates a dangerous illusion. What we see as natural beauty is often carefully managed, controlled, and sometimes completely artificial. The problem is that every day people start comparing themselves to that image. But how do you compete with something that isn't even real? Now let's talk about something that's been quietly taking over Hollywood. Weight loss drugs. You've probably heard the name Ozempic floating around. It's a medication originally meant for diabetes, but lately it's been used by many celebrities to lose weight quickly. This is where Katt Williams becomes very outspoken. He doesn't just question it, he openly mocks it.
I'm telling you, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's still consequences. Hollywood is finding that out right now. There's a drug problem in Hollywood. They can't even tell you about it. But y'all know I'll tell. Here's the truth, won't nobody say. That mother Ozempic is whooping Hollywood's ass. Do you?
He's pointed out how suddenly so many celebrities are losing weight at the same time, almost like it's a trend or something coordinated. What bothers him most isn't just the drug itself, but the secrecy around it. People hear celebrities say they're just eating better or working out more, but behind the scenes, the story can be very different. And according to Katt, that creates confusion, because people at home start blaming themselves, wondering why they can't get the same results without realizing they're comparing themselves to something medically assisted. Katt Williams believes the real issue isn't just weight loss, but the standard itself. Hollywood sets a level of perfection that most people simply cannot reach, yet it's presented as normal. We see perfect bodies, perfect skin, and perfect lives, but we rarely see the cost behind it. The strict diets, the intense pressure, and the constant fear of losing that image are all hidden. When regular people try to chase that same standard, it can lead to frustration, insecurity, and even harm. His message is simple. Don't measure your life against a system that was never built to reflect reality.
It's gonna get worse. I'm gonna say everything I'm not supposed to say tonight. Just so you know. The world has changed.
One of the most important points Katt Williams raises is mental health. He asks a simple but powerful question about what's really going on in people's minds. While everyone is focused on looking good, fewer people are asking if they actually feel good. The pressure to look perfect doesn't just affect the body, it affects the mind too. Stress, anxiety, and fear of judgment can build up over time. Katt believes none of that is worth it if your mental health is suffering. He encourages people to be comfortable in their own skin instead of chasing someone else's image.
None of that is even real.
Another issue he highlights is the cost of staying healthy. Celebrities have access to top doctors, trainers, and treatments, but for the average person, it's a completely different reality. Therapy can be expensive, medical care can be out of reach, and even basic wellness can feel like a luxury. Katt Williams points out how unfair it is that the same system pushing people to improve themselves also makes it difficult for them to get the help they need. While celebrities promote a certain lifestyle, many people don't have the resources to follow it safely, and that gap creates even more pressure. So when these celebrities face real health problems, they don't always handle them in the way people expect. There are usually two approaches. Some choose to speak openly, while others remain completely silent. Each choice comes with its own reasons and consequences.
When you were struggling, there was like attempts at escaping life.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I got to the point that things caught up with me that I never had acknowledged, I never wanted to face. I feel like I was sort of putting on this facade.
When celebrities do decide to share their health struggles, it's often carefully planned. Many wait until they are already recovering before speaking, so they can present the situation as something they've already overcome. This helps maintain their image and keeps them marketable. For example, Angelina Jolie shared her preventive surgery in a way that sparked a global conversation and encouraged awareness. Ryan Reynolds used humor while documenting his colonoscopy, making a serious issue feel less intimidating. Others go even further by turning their experiences into advocacy. Michael J. Fox has spent years raising awareness about Parkinson's disease, while Selena Gomez has spoken openly about lupus and mental health. In these cases, sharing becomes a powerful tool that educates people and inspires change.
These women and even these men who are just skin and bones, and they're skinny. And the world is calling it success when it comes to health.
On the other hand, many celebrities choose to stay silent, and there are strong reasons for that. In Hollywood, being seen as unwell can affect career opportunities. Studios may hesitate, insurance companies may worry, and roles can disappear. Because of this, some stars keep their struggles completely private. A well-known example is Chadwick Boseman, who quietly battled illness for years while continuing to work at a high level. Most people only learned about it after his passing. Others avoid sharing because they don't want to be pitied or defined by their illness. Behind the scenes, there are also systems in place to protect their privacy, including the use of fake names in hospitals and strict security measures to prevent leaks.
People being made to wear a dress. That's what a ritual is. You know what I mean? Like, whether they're white or black, that doesn't matter. There's not other jobs where this is a requirement. Why?
This is where Katt Williams takes things even further. He suggests that silence in Hollywood isn't always a personal choice. According to him, there may be pressure to stay quiet, to follow a certain system, and to avoid speaking out on uncomfortable truths. He has hinted at patterns where people who don't follow the expected path seem to face consequences. One example he has mentioned is Wendy Williams, suggesting her situation may reflect something bigger happening behind the scenes. Whether or not people agree with him, it raises an important question about how much of what we see is actually controlled. One reason Katt Williams can speak so freely is that he operates outside the traditional Hollywood system. He produces his own work and controls his own platform, which gives him a level of independence many others don't have. That independence allows him to question the system and speak openly without fear of being shut out. He has even suggested that over time, more truths will come to light, and what is hidden now may not stay hidden forever.
All lies will be exposed. That's all. And anyone who takes that the wrong way, know why they take it the wrong way.
At the end of the day, this conversation goes beyond celebrities. It reflects how their world influences everyday life. The images people see, the standards they follow, and the pressure they feel are all shaped by what is presented in the media. Katt Williams encourages people to think differently, to stop chasing unrealistic perfection, and to question what is real. He emphasizes focusing on personal health, peace of mind, and being comfortable in your own skin. Because behind the lights, cameras, and carefully crafted images, the truth is often far more complicated than it appears. And for someone like Sandra Lee, health has always been part of daily life. She's spent years helping patients deal with skin conditions, performing procedures, and educating millions of people online. But everything changed the moment she became the patient herself.
I was working, I was taping the show, and it's a stressful, long day. At the end of the day, I was feeling crabby, as I usually am, because it's a long day, but I was having trouble swallowing. I had a very restless night, and I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and
It didn't start with something dramatic. There was no sudden collapse or obvious warning. Instead, it began quietly, almost in a way that could be easily ignored. While she was seeing patients at her clinic, she suddenly felt something wasn't right. She described it as what seemed like a hot flash. She became very sweaty and felt completely off, like her body wasn't responding the way it normally would. At first, it didn't seem serious enough to stop everything. Like many people, she pushed through the feeling and continued her day. But that decision shows how easy it is to overlook early warning signs, even for someone with medical knowledge. Later that evening, things didn't improve. In fact, they got worse in ways that were subtle but concerning. She started to feel restless, unable to fully relax, like something deeper was going on beneath the surface. Then came the physical symptoms. There were sharp, shooting pains in her leg. Walking didn't feel normal anymore. Even something as simple as going down the stairs became difficult. That's when the situation started to feel more serious. But one of the most alarming signs came when she noticed changes in her speech. She had trouble articulating her words clearly. Speaking something so natural suddenly required effort. That's when a frightening thought crossed her mind. Could this be a stroke? That moment of realization is something many people can relate to. It's that instant when your body sends signals you can no longer ignore.
So I went to the ER, and as soon as I told them, like, I'm noticing weakness and I'm stumbling and my voice was a little bit, I was dysarthric, which means that you have a tough time like enunciating.
When she got to the hospital, doctors ran tests to understand what was happening. An MRI scan gave them the answer. It confirmed that she had suffered an ischemic stroke. Hearing those words changes everything. An ischemic stroke happens when blood flow to part of the brain is blocked, and without oxygen, brain cells begin to die. That's exactly what happened in her case. She later explained it in very simple but powerful terms. Part of her brain had died. It's a harsh reality, and hearing it directly from someone who understands medicine makes it even more real. After the diagnosis, she started reflecting on everything that led up to that moment. In hindsight, the signs were there.
But, as a woman being young, thinking like it's not going to happen to you, it was at nighttime for me. Like I tried to sleep on it, and so I think I missed that window, and that really is key. So I think it's really important. I think there's a lot more people that are getting strokes at a younger age.
Stress played a role. High blood pressure was a factor, and high cholesterol was also part of the picture. These are things many people deal with every day, often without thinking too much about them. But together, they can create a serious risk. What makes her story so important is how easily those warning signs can be brushed aside. A hot flash doesn't immediately make you think of a stroke. Difficulty walking might seem temporary. Trouble speaking might be blamed on fatigue. But when these symptoms come together, they can signal something much more serious. When news of her stroke became public in 2026, the reaction was immediate. Fans were shocked. On screen, she always appeared energetic, focused, and in control. Seeing someone like her face such a serious health issue made people realize that strokes don't always happen to those who seem visibly unwell. Support poured in from all over. People sent messages, shared their own experiences, and expressed relief that she was recovering. But beyond the emotional reaction, something else happened. Her story started a conversation. One of the reasons her experience stood out was because of how relatable it was. Many people were surprised that she initially thought her symptoms were something minor. That detail made headlines because it showed how easy it is to misinterpret what your body is telling you. Even medical professionals used her case as an example. They pointed out that strokes don't always follow the expected pattern. Not every case looks the same, and not every symptom is obvious. Her openness helped break down a common misconception, that serious health issues always come with clear, dramatic warnings. Sometimes they don't.
I was working, I was taping the show, and it's a stressful, long day. At the end of the day, I was feeling crabby, as I usually am, because it's a long day, but I was having trouble swallowing. I had a very restless night, and I got up to go to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and I felt like I was unsteady, but I was going to sleep. I was just trying to sleep because I knew the next day I had to work, right?
Like many professionals, especially those in the public eye, she kept working even when something felt off. That pressure to continue, to not stop, to push through discomfort, is something a lot of people understand. But her experience shows the risk of doing that. The body doesn't always give you loud warnings. Sometimes it whispers. And if those whispers are ignored, the consequences can become much more serious. After the news broke, many people had another concern. Would she be able to continue her work? As a dermatologist, her job requires precision. Her hands need to be steady. Her movements need to be exact. A stroke can affect coordination, strength, and control, all of which are critical in her field. For a moment, there was uncertainty. Patients and fans wondered what this would mean for her future. Would she return to her practice? Would she continue filming her show, Dr. Pimple Popper? Fortunately, updates showed that she was recovering and gradually returning to work. But the concern people felt highlights how closely health and career are connected, especially in high-performance professions. Instead of focusing only on the fear or the damage, she described it as a kind of wake-up call. She even referred to it as a blessing in disguise. That doesn't mean the experience was easy. It means it forced her to slow down and pay attention to her own health in a way she hadn't before. For years, she had been focused on helping others. Now, she had to focus on herself. That shift is something many people struggle with. When you connect her story back to everything discussed earlier about celebrity culture, a bigger picture starts to form. We often see celebrities as people who have everything under control. They look healthy, successful, and put together. But behind that image, they face many of the same risks and pressures as everyone else. In some cases, even more. The expectations, the workload, the stress, and the constant public attention can all take a toll. And just like Katt Williams has pointed out, what we see on the surface rarely tells the full story.
Which is a pretty common area to get a stroke when you get a stroke on the right side where essentially a part of your brain does not get enough oxygen. And so it's sort of like death of that area, you know? That's a really scary thing to hear.
One of the most important takeaways from her experience is the importance of listening to your body. Small changes matter. Feeling off without a clear reason matters. Struggling to speak clearly matters. Sudden difficulty walking matters. These are not things to ignore. Her story reminds people that acting quickly can make a huge difference. Recognizing symptoms early and seeking help can save not just your health, but your life. At the end of it all, her experience brings the focus back to something simple but powerful. Health comes first, not work, not appearance, not expectations. Stories like this stay with people because they feel real. There's no filter on a health scare, no editing, no perfect angle. It's just a reminder that the human body has limits, and those limits need to be respected. For Sandra Lee, that moment changed everything. It shifted her perspective, her priorities, and the way she looks at her own life. And for everyone watching, it leaves a simple but important message. Pay attention. Take care of yourself, and never assume that something small can't turn into something serious.
Congratulations on being nominated, your show.
Thank you. I know, it's funny, it's like the lifestyle category. And I was thinking, yes, you know, pimples are a lifestyle, so I get it, right? Yes.
To really understand why this moment hit so hard, you have to understand who Sandra Lee is beyond the screen. Most people know her as Dr. Pimple Popper, the calm, steady voice behind some of the most oddly satisfying and sometimes shocking skin procedure videos online. But behind that name is a highly trained doctor who spent years building her career long before the cameras ever showed up. She isn't just an internet personality, she's a board-certified dermatologist who has treated real patients every single day, helping people deal with conditions that often affect not just their skin, but their confidence and quality of life. Sandra Lee's story starts in New York, where she was born into a family that already had a connection to medicine. Her father was a dermatologist, which meant she was exposed to that world from a young age. Later, her family moved to Southern California, where she grew up and eventually built her life. That early exposure played a big role in shaping her future. Medicine wasn't something distant or unfamiliar. It was part of her environment, something she saw up close. And over time, that turned into a clear path. Her path wasn't easy or quick. She studied at UCLA, where she balanced her education with part-time work as a medical assistant. That experience gave her a real look into patient care early on. After that, she went on to medical school at Drexel University, where she officially stepped into the world of medicine. But even that wasn't the end of the journey. She completed her internship, went through years of residency training, and then continued building her skills in specialized areas like cosmetic and laser procedures. By the time she finished, she wasn't just qualified, she was deeply experienced. All of that happened long before millions of people ever knew her name.
You know, you follow the patients from how they deal with whatever bump or skin issue they have with their family, their friends, their loved ones, and then you see them come to my office and you see them interact with us, so you actually see me walking around. And
eventually, she settled into her practice in Upland, California, where she works alongside her husband, fellow dermatologist Dr. Jeffrey Rebish. Together, they built a professional life focused on helping patients with serious skin conditions. These weren't just cosmetic issues. Many of her patients came in with painful, long-term problems that affected their daily lives. That's something people often forget when they watch her videos. Behind every clip is a real person dealing with something that matters to them. Her rise to fame didn't happen in a typical way. It started with something simple: sharing videos. At first, she posted clips online showing skin procedures. These were things most people wouldn't expect to become popular. In fact, many would assume the opposite. But something interesting happened. People started watching, then sharing and coming back for more. What seemed like a niche or even gross topic turned into a global phenomenon. Millions of people became fascinated by the process, the results, and the way she calmly explained everything. Before long, she wasn't just a doctor with a practice. She was a global internet personality. As her audience grew, so did her influence.
Here are the do's and don'ts with sebaceous filaments. Don't try to pick or squeeze them. You're really just going to potentially damage the skin around them.
She launched her own skincare line, creating products designed to help people deal with common skin issues. It was a natural extension of what she had already been doing, helping people understand and care for their skin. She also expanded into television with her show, Dr. Pimple Popper, where viewers could see full patient stories from start to finish. The show gave a deeper look into the emotional side of her work, showing not just the procedures, but the impact they had on people's lives. Despite all the attention, she maintained a relatively grounded personal life. She's a wife and a mother, raising 2 sons while continuing to run her practice and manage her growing brand. That balance between public success and private life is something many people admire, but it also adds another layer of pressure, because managing a career like hers isn't simple. It requires time, energy, and constant focus. And sometimes, that pressure can build up in ways that aren't immediately visible. When you look at her story through the lens of her health scare, it becomes clear that success often comes with hidden costs. Long hours, high expectations, constant responsibility. All of these can take a toll over time. And just like the broader conversation about celebrities and health, her experience shows that being successful or knowledgeable doesn't make someone immune to health risks. Even someone who understands the human body as deeply as she does can still face unexpected challenges. Dr. Pimple Popper is not just a celebrity. She's someone who built her career step by step, worked hard to get where she is, and dedicated her life to helping others. So when something like this happens, it feels real. It reminds people that no matter how much you know, no matter how successful you are, your health can still change in an instant. After everything she went through, there's a clear shift in how she views things. Health is no longer something that can be pushed aside or taken for granted. It becomes the center of everything. And that shift is something many people only experience after a serious wake-up call. Her story encourages people to think about that now, before something forces them to. When you connect her journey back to the earlier discussion about Hollywood, celebrity culture, and health, it all starts to come together. We often see the polished version of people's lives, the success, the confidence, the appearance of control. But behind that, there are real challenges, real risks, and real moments that change everything. In the end, Sandra Lee's journey is more than just a personal story. Building on her story, there are a few clear lessons that stand out from what happened to Sandra Lee. The first is simple but important. Health problems don't discriminate. Even someone trained in medicine, someone who understands how the body works and spends her career helping others stay well, can still face something as serious as a stroke.
It does not actually trigger a breakout, but there are products that you can eat that you want to avoid. Like what?
It's a reminder that success, knowledge, or even outward fitness doesn't make anyone immune. The body follows its own rules, no matter who you are. Another lesson is how easily early warning signs can be missed. In her case, it wasn't one dramatic moment at the start. It was subtle changes that didn't seem urgent at the time. Feeling unusually tired, a bit off balance, sweating more than normal, or not feeling fully present in her own body. Later, the signs became harder to ignore, like difficulty walking or speaking clearly. But like many people, it's easy to brush these things off, blame stress, or assume they'll pass. The problem is, those small signals are often the body's first real alarms. Her experience also highlights how health risks can build quietly over time. Issues like high blood pressure and cholesterol don't usually announce themselves with pain. They develop slowly, often without any obvious symptoms, especially when life is busy and stressful. When that stress becomes constant and rest becomes rare, the risk grows in the background without much notice. That's what makes it so dangerous. By the time something serious happens, it can feel sudden, even though it was building for years. There's also a strong message here about slowing down. Many people live with the mindset that they have to keep pushing, keep working, and keep going no matter how they feel. Responsibilities, deadlines, and expectations often come first. But her story shows the cost of ignoring your body's signals. Sometimes fatigue, dizziness, or unusual discomfort isn't something to push through. It's the body asking for attention, and responding early can completely change the outcome. The mental side matters just as much. Stress doesn't always feel dangerous at the moment. It can feel normal, even expected. But over time, it builds up quietly, affecting sleep, focus, pressure levels, and overall health. Without enough rest and recovery, the body doesn't get the chance to reset. Taking breaks, stepping away from constant pressure, and giving yourself space to recover isn't a luxury. It's part of staying healthy. At the core of it all, her story carries a very simple message that applies to everyone. Listen to your body. Don't ignore small changes. Don't wait for things to become serious before you pay attention. The earlier you act, the more options you have. Health isn't something to think about only when there's a problem. It's the foundation that everything else depends on, and it deserves attention long before things reach a breaking point. One more thing worth adding is how recovery and awareness have become a bigger conversation today. More people are learning to check in with themselves instead of waiting for a crisis. Even simple habits like regular medical checkups, proper sleep, and stepping away from constant pressure can make a real difference. It's not about living in fear, but about staying aware. Health isn't just about treating problems after they appear. It's about noticing the small shifts early enough to respond. In a world that rewards non-stop movement, slowing down can actually be one of the smartest things you do. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update.